Advertising consists of two quintessential components. The product, this is what the company is trying to sell you, and the audience, this is you. Advertisements are created to adhere to a particular target audience, often niche enough to the point where they'll resonate with the beliefs and values of said target audience. They'll then correlate these beliefs and values with the product, making you feel a connection to said product. They'll show you the product over and over until the point where you've seen it so many times and feel a deep connection to the product, and you'll pay for it. Some of these marketing campaigns can cost hundreds of millions, but they are so good at pinpointing the perfect target audience, and they are highly effective at showing the product and its values to the point where wants become needs. But what if instead of pinpointing a target audience, the audience was everybody on the planet? And what if instead of showing your product, you didn't? Well, the decision to spend $65 million on an ad campaign and to not show the sole product of your company is not only risky, not only is it daring, but it would have to require the biggest leap of faith any company had taken in marketing history. Red Bull Stratos was not an entirely new avenue for Red Bull marketing. In fact, Red Bull never played by the advertising rulebook to start with. Whilst competitor companies like Coca-Cola spend on average $4 billion a year on traditional advertising, Red Bull consistently spends under $100 million. This is because Red Bull works under the assumption you already know what their product is. They want to synonymize their product and, more importantly, their brand identity with bravery, adventure, intensity, and more. To do this, they both sponsor athletes and not only tell, but create stories to shape their brand image accordingly. They've sponsored over 750 athletes from over 70 different countries in over 150 different sports, so it's safe to say Red Bull is very widely known in a lot of different niches in all corners of the planet. And so when you've synonymized yourself with the extremities of certain sports and your brand is tantamount with courage and bravery across the globe, it's only logical that in marketing, your next step would be 38,969 meters above the planet you already conquered. From start to finish, this step cost Red Bull over 7 years of time and effort, with hundreds of people all working together to make Red Bull Stratos happen. This event was more than just an ad. It wouldn't make sense to spend 7 years and $65 million on one Red Bull ad. This was, in Art Thompson's, mission director of Red Bull Stratos' words, a world-class, multi-stage scientific flight test program. And it just so happened that this world-class flight test program would paint Red Bull as the company to redefine human limits. It showed Red Bull was the company willing to put time, money, and effort into real people, into science, and into things that mattered to benefit humankind. This was more than just an ad, but it was also more than just a flight test. While I find it difficult to believe that the advertisement portion of the Red Bull Stratos event was an afterthought, I find it more difficult to believe that anybody in 2005 could have predicted the virality of this stunt. To put the cultural significance of this event into perspective, just a few months before Felix Baumgartner performed the highest jump in human history, the 2012 Olympic Games were held in London. For Usain Bolt's 100-meter final, 500,000 viewers tuned in from around the globe to watch, setting a new record for the highest amount of concurrent viewers in YouTube's history. 3 months later, Red Bull Stratos would set the new record of most concurrent viewers on the site, achieving a staggering 9.5 million viewers, 19 times the likes of the most famous sprinter to ever exist. It didn't stop at just YouTube, however. This was a stunt that transcended what it meant to be human, and so, ironically enough, brought all humans together for a single moment in time. People missed school, meetings, and even flights. Large US football games came to a halt. Hikers atop mountains watched on their cell phones. With over 280 different digital partners live streaming the event, it became the most live streamed event in history with 52 million live viewers. With all this live streaming and the constant news feeds, it was predicted that at the time of the launch, 7% of the world's internet bandwidth was occupied by Red Bull Stratos. And so, Red Bull sold 5.2 billion cans that year, a 13% increase worldwide, and made $1.6 billion in can sales over the next 6 months. And remember, Red Bull did this without showing their sole product a single time in the entire campaign. But as impressive as this sounds, I feel if they had showed a can of Red Bull, it would have hindered the company more than it would have helped them. You see, Red Bull is a brand that strives off authenticity. It creates these stories so people can form deeper connections with each other, but also with the Red Bull brand. Red Bull has always let its content do the talking, not its product. And so if even a single can of Red Bull had come up, it would have felt not only disingenuous to the audience, but it would have felt like they didn't believe in their content. Imagine putting 7 years into a campaign and not believing in it. Imagine cheapening your entire brand identity by showing a single can of Red Bull. And so Red Bull did the safest thing they knew how. They jumped from the stratosphere and let their content speak for itself.